You guys might have watched my first two class setup videos where I go over what classes you should be using to drop nukes in Cold War. Well, today we're just going to be continuing that series. We're going to be going over more guns. I think the meta has changed since the last time I did this. So we're going to be going over what guns you should use and what attachments you should be using with them. Hey guys, what is going on? It is your boy J King, and today I'm going to be bringing you guys part 3 of the best class setups to drop nukes with in Black Ops Cold War. I'm going to be mainly focusing today on the weapons and attachments. If you guys want to know what I use in my other parts of the class, I go over that in the first part. That includes scorestreaks, which I think is the most important thing, perks, wildcards, and different things like that. But we're really going to be focusing today on what are the new meta weapons. What weapons are going to be the most viable now after some of the recent balance changes, and hopefully I'll be walking away from this video knowing what classes to use to drop more of those nukes. So before we get started today, we do have a shout out Hindian. His link will be down in the description below. If you want to shout out yourself, all you have to do is head over to my stream, jking_official on Twitch, get 1,000 channel points, redeem the channel point reward for shout out and YouTube video, and you'll be on next week's video just like this yourself. Also, if this video has helped you at all, consider leaving a like and a subscription. Ring that bell for more content. We're getting close to that 200 sub mark, which is absolutely insane, and I do appreciate all the support lately. So without further ado, let's get into it. So hopping right into it, we're going to be looking at the Krig. Of course, I got the fire blueprint right here. Probably one of the best blueprints in Call of Duty history. But the Krig is going to be a really good AR. It's going to have really good accuracy. It's going to have good range. It's probably one of the best ARs for long-range engagements. I would definitely put it up there with the XM4 in terms of viability. As far as attachments, I use the Microflex LED. I pretty much use that on every single AR there is, especially on the Krig. The IR sights are not good. I'm going to be using the Ranger barrel. This is mainly just because of the blueprint. Obviously, if you change barrels on this, it's going to look absolutely terrible. I would be using the takedown barrel, but again, the Ranger isn't a bad alternative. I definitely stick to either of these two barrels, but I'm mainly using the Ranger just for looks, honestly. Again, I'm going to be using the 40 round speed mag. If not, I'd probably just use the 40 round mag. But again, the 40 round speed mag, you know, it's kind of nice. The 20% ADS time is a little bit bad, but again, I would stick to the 40 round, but I'm just using this mainly for look. And of course, the last two, tape and stock, those are pretty much standard on pretty much everything that I use. Yeah, I think this Krig is a really good long range to medium range gun. You're going to have really good accuracy with it, and it's overall a really good gun to use. Again, the rest of the perks and the rest of the class is pretty much standard for me. If you guys want to check that out in my first video, you can. The next gun I want to go over, and this might have changed since the last time, is going to be the FFAR. I think this gun is actually extremely viable now. The only downside to it really is that gunfighter is pretty much needed, in my opinion, to make the gun, you know, give that extra advantage in those gunfights. I do think the attachments are needed, so that is a negative. I always try to run perk read whenever I can. So hopping into the attachments, we got the Microflex LED. We're going to be using the infantry compensator here to cut down that vertical recoil. We're going to be using the takedown barrel. This is pretty much standard. I don't want to use the task force barrel. That is way too much recoil for this gun. This gun has a pretty good time to kill, some pretty decent range. So we're just going to be using the takedown barrel to increase that range and not really get that aim walking speed reduction. Steady aim laser, mainly just because I have gunfighter and I have the attachment to use. We're going to use the foregrip. This is actually a change since the last time. Basically, speed grip has been extremely nerfed. Basically, the sprinting move speed has been reduced, even on SMGs. So if you're going to be using any sort of horizontal recoil, I would definitely go with just a regular foregrip. You're not going to be getting these negatives down here of the movement speed, shooting move speed, and aim movement speed. This is going to cut down on your mobility overall. And of course, if you don't need any horizontal recoil, you can always go for some like movement speed increases. There is shooting movement speed, and then there's this infiltrator grip that you can use. But the FFAR does have a decent bit of horizontal recoil control, so we're going to use the main foregrip to cut down on that. 38 round mag, I do think this is needed with how fast the FFAR shoots. And of course, the last two, tape and stock. So I do think this is a really good medium to close range AR. I think it is sort of that middle range AR, and I do think it is really viable now. So before we move on to the last two class setups, which I think is going to include the best gun in Black Ops Cold War at the moment, consider leaving a like on this video if it has helped you at all. Also hit that bell for more content. I'm also a variety streamer at Twitch, jking_official. I stream Cold War, Clash Royale, and some other games. So if you guys want to come by, drop a follow. My link will be down in the description below. And yeah, without further ado, let's get back into it. So moving on to the final two class setups, we have the PPSH. This was newly added in Season 3. Basically, I think this is going to be top 3 gun in the actual game. I don't think it's the best one. I think the best one we're saving for last, but I do think this is a really, really good alternative. So basically what we're going to be using, we're going to be using the task force barrel. As you could tell from the actual details section, there isn't going to be a whole lot of recoil that we have to control. So the task force barrel is going to give us that extra bit of damage, range, and bullet velocity. It's overall just going to be a really, really good barrel to use on this gun. We're just going to be using the regular foregrip as stated earlier. We're not going to be using the speed grip anymore. It's even less on SMGs now. It's only 3%, which is it's actually just really bad. So we're going to be using the standard foregrip just for that horizontal recoil control. We're going to be using the 55 round drum. I do think this is needed on this gun. And of course, the last two, tape and stock. So I do think this is a really, really good alternative to use for an SMG. I think it's top 3 in the game at the current moment. And moving on to the last one, which I do think is the best gun in the game, is going to be the LT10. The time to kill, the range, the recoil control, just everything about this gun is just a little bit OP, actually. So moving into the actual setup itself, we got the infantry compensators to cut down on that vertical recoil. As you can see, it is above 200, so we're going to be trying to cut that down. The main reason for that is we're going to be using the task force barrel. Obviously, if we didn't use the task force barrel, that would go down by a lot, but I do think this task force barrel is number one. It works really well on this gun. It doesn't have a ton of base recoil, but it's also just going to make the damage and the time to kill just go up by that much, even with the base damage and time to kill just being a little bit broken to begin with. So I do think the task force barrel is needed, so that's why we're using the infantry compensator here. I'm just using a standard patrol grip just for some movement speed, and we're also getting that sprint to fire time as well. As you can see from the details, we only have 73 horizontal recoil, so that's not a lot. We're not going to be specking for the foregrip here. There's no real need to, so we're just going to be using this patrol grip just for mainly that sprint to fire time, but also the sprinting move speed is going to help us get around the map a little bit quicker. And of course, the last tape and the last stock as usual. So I do think that is the best gun in the game at the current moment. I do think that the range, the time to kill, the bullet velocity, just everything about it is a little bit broken. I do think it is better than the AK-74U now, and I do believe it is better than the PPSH. And I do think those are top 3 guns, at least SMG wise, in the actual game. But yeah, those are the guns that you should be using. This is at the end of the video. I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, leave that like, and I will see you guys in the next one.